Host of Synchronicity, talk radio for your mind, body, and soul. Join me Mondays at noon to start your week feeling uplifted and optimistic.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
Tap into the universal energy that connects us all. Synchronicity, talk radio for your mind, body, and soul. Mondays at noon on CITR 101.9 FM, Vancouver.
Welcome to Synchronicity, talk radio for your mind, body, and soul. Happy holidays. I'm your host, Marie Bernard. You might be listening in Vancouver at 101.9 FM CITR, or you will also possibly be listening online at CITR.ca, CosmicDimensions.com, EmpowerRadio.com, or on the Co-Creator Network, and wherever you're listening from. Thanks so much for joining us today. We have a very special guest today, but before I introduce him, I just want to let you know that next week the show will be falling on December 26th, which is Boxing Day here in Canada, and it's also the first day of Kwanzaa, so I'm going to be playing my Kwanzaa special, and then I'll be back to regularly scheduled programming live with Earth Angel singer-songwriter Anna Taylor on January 2nd, I believe, whatever the first day of the year is for the first Monday of the year. So I'm really excited about that. And today, without further ado, we have Dr. Bernie Siegel. He is the author of many books, but today we're going to be talking about a book of miracles, inspiring true stories of healing, gratitude, and love. And Dr. Bernie is a pioneer in the mind, body, soul medicine movement. So I've interviewed him before for Namaste Radio, and I'm just thrilled to have him here for Synchronicity. Welcome to the show, Dr. Bernie.
Thank you, Marie.
Thanks so much for being with us. So thank you so much for being on the show today, and I just want to start out the conversation. Well, first of all, happy holidays to you.
Oh, thank you.
Boxing Day, it's when there's all the sales after Christmas. It's a holiday. I don't know exactly what I think it's kind of like Black Friday. But I don't know. I think it actually has some kind of meaning, but I'm not quite sure what it is. If you know what Boxing Day is, give us a call at 604-822-2487. That's 604-UBC-CITR, and you can let me know. Okay, so Dr. Bernie, first of all, the book, A Book of Miracles, Inspiring True Stories of Healing, Gratitude, and Love. And what do you mean by miracles?
Well, life is a miracle. That's what I've come to conclude. Einstein meant the same thing. Most quantum physicists and astronomers will say the same thing, that, creation is a miracle. And I think people need to appreciate how they can bring these so-called miracles to work for them. That when you're bitter, resentful, angry, Monday morning, they don't happen. You're more likely to have the heart attack or a stroke on Monday, or when you're resenting and bitter and so forth. But when you get in the flow, when you let your consciousness direct you, and do what feels right, let your heart make up your mind. I mean, I have a lot of expressions, but when you're getting into that kind of flow, then wonderful things begin to happen. You meet the right person. Yes, health, is affected, but these are not stories just about health. They're about everything from, the holidays to just accidents that you might say people happen, but turn out to be miraculous in terms of what it did to them and for them. And I, as a physician, I can say that our Creator loves us. I define our Creator as loving, intelligent, conscious energy. So how do you get the love and the intelligence and the consciousness and the energy working for you? And it's getting into that rhythm. So when you cut your finger, you can appreciate it heals if I just put a Band-Aid on it. I mean, that's a miracle. Who figured that out? Or let alone, how does one cell create a human being as well as all the other creatures in the world? And the trees, the bacteria, viruses are all capable of altering their genes and surviving, and that's built into us. But we have to bring it forth. I always say people have a lot more trouble than bacteria and viruses and trees in surviving antibiotics, vaccines, weather, broken limbs. But, when you think about it, why doesn't a tree bleed to death when you break a branch off? Because it knows how to heal. And those are things that are built in. And we have to bring them forth and have them act. And as I say, when you get into the rhythm, then those things happen. And well, let me put it another way. What I call, in the biblical line, choose life. I place before you life and death, good and evil. Choose life. See, when you're choosing what's good for you, that does not consider everybody else on the planet. But when you choose life, and your actions are life-enhancing, and include others who you're concerned about, then some amazing things begin to happen.
So, Dr. Bernie, now you've done a lot of work in cancer treatment and helping patients recover from cancer. And so would you say that when someone comes down with an illness like cancer, are they cutting off essentially the miracles in their lives?
What I started saying to people over 30 years ago was, what's happened the last year or two in your life? When they came down with an illness. Because I saw this in my own life. When we were exhausted taking care of 5 children, we were born very close together, my wife and I both got sick. And I realized we were exhausted, weren't resting. We needed help. So we asked for it. And then it helped. Well, as a matter of fact, one of the women who really became like a second mother to our children was a neighbor. And, her kids had grown, so she started helping. And she called not too long ago to talk about something, and my wife said, oh, she's the one who saved our lives. And I thought, wow, where's that coming from? But it was what my wife saw in how she helped us and let us heal. Now, a lot of doctors would say to me, oh, you're blaming your patients. I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm saying look at what could make you vulnerable at a certain time. You see, the expression in religion about being born again, I saw that in people with an illness. They hated their job, a marriage, all kinds of things going on. And when they learned they had a life-threatening illness, they changed their lives. They moved. They quit a job. They got a divorce. All kinds of things went on. And then suddenly they don't die when they're supposed to. And I don't call that a miracle. Solzhenitsyn, in his book Cancer Ward, called it self-induced healing. You see, in his description of it in the book is a rainbow-colored butterfly. When I read that, I thought, yeah, you've been through it. You and I agree. The rainbow is your life in order. The butterfly is a symbol of transformation. So when you transform your life, bring order and harmony to it, some wonderful things happen physically. And again, a lot of people are afraid to try to have a miracle. See, if I don't have it, I didn't love enough, I didn't straighten out my life. No, that's not the issue. The issue is healing your life and bringing peace and happiness to it. The physical is the byproduct.
So, Dr. Bernie, you mentioned how when you and your wife had 5 kids, you were all trying to look after them all, that it got really overwhelming and you started to get ill, you and your wife. But there's actually a story in the book where one of your patients named her baby after you. Can you...
She was a woman who had she had developed cancer and joined our support group, which I'm still running. Because, the word is potential. See, let's put that in the place of miracle. If it was called a book about your potential, see, what are we capable of? That's what I'm trying to let people know. And so why not give it a shot? Let's see what can happen. But anyway, she became pregnant. I got a phone call one day that she was in the hospital in premature labor and probably going to abort, and everybody was so upset. So I ran over to the hospital, went up to her room. And the tension and the fear and the anxiety in that room was incredible. It was uncomfortable to just walk in the room. Everybody is, this is tragic. I said to everybody, get out of here. And I put on some peaceful music. And then we did a guided imagery. I had her relax and visualize her uterus relaxing, slowing down, and the labor stopping. And within half an hour, her premature labor stopped, and she went through full-term delivery. And what I loved is They called me to say, we had a boy, we've named him after you, but since we're Irish, his name is Brady, not, Bernie. And I laughed, but, we're still friends. But you see, it's, again, the potential. If everybody's surrounding you with fear and panic, and you're going to have a miscarriage, and if that's in your mind, those things happen. But when you can relax, there's enormous amounts of ability to communicate with your body, because I saw this with people who were under anesthesia. I would talk to them, because we hear when we're asleep under anesthesia in coma, we still hear. And I would tell them, what we're doing in surgery and what I'd like them to help me with, a slower heart rate, less bleeding. And it was amazing how they would respond to my words.
So, Dr. Bernie, I'm curious, do you teach other doctors these techniques? Because if I ever needed surgery, I'd hope that I'd have a doctor willing to do that.
I mean, I was on more famous talk shows years ago with doctors yelling at me. See, you're blaming your patients, you don't have any research, but nobody would fund the research, like is a support group beneficial or your emotions, because they'd say, oh, you're nuts, I can't believe that. But as the years went by, I wasn't so nuts anymore. And some people did research to prove I was wrong, and it came out the opposite. And then we have studies about laughter and loneliness. And a lot of things, I always say that the playwrights, the musicians, the authors, put into their work because they see it in life. How retirement can affect you, how all the kids leaving home, losing your job, the death of a loved one. I mean, these are not accidents, when they affect you and your health. And so when you begin to open to those things, then the research gets done. So yes, the medical profession is changing, but it's far behind where I wish it would be. It's always 20 years behind where I'd like it to be in the sense of treating people's experience, not just a diagnosis, with a pill. But, this was an ad I often show as a slide when I'm lecturing. It said, I was depressed. I went to see my physician. I said, you've got to help me. The next line is, he prescribed an antidepressant. See? And now I feel wonderful. I mean, I wrote to the company in the medical journal, and I said, don't you think there ought to be a sentence in there that says, tell me what's happened in your life, what's bothering you, rather than, oh, you're depressed, here's a pill. And they cancel the ad. But to me, that's the sickness of medicine, that we need to train doctors to care for people, not just treat disease and complaints, but to say to people, how may I help you? See, what changed my life and opened me to miracles was a patient of mine. I went to a meeting I thought would be basically for doctors, run by a physician, on how to help cancer patients with imagery and how to empower them and so forth. I was the only doctor out of 125 or 150 people, I can't remember how many. I was the only doctor in the room. It blew my mind that nobody in the community came to see a physician present this conference. And one of my patients said to me, you're a nice guy, I feel better when I'm in the office with you, but I can't take you home with me, so I need to know how to live between office visits. And that's what changed my direction in life. I started helping people live. And then I saw the benefits of enjoying your life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's wonderful. I want to talk more about that, enjoying your life, and especially around the holidays when sometimes we forget to enjoy the joy around us and get all stressed out. So,
with the holidays, a sentence from Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind. What if Jesus was the only normal person who ever lived? I love that, and I read it in one of his books. Now, I know he was smiling when he wrote it, but when you talk about potential, think about that. Say, we're all children of God. We all come from the same thing, the same source. So why can't we do what he did?
Beautiful. And we'll be back with more synchronicity in just a moment. We are speaking today with Dr. Bernie Siegel. He is the author of many, many books, but today we're talking about his latest book, A Book of Miracles, inspiring true stories of healing, gratitude, and love. We'll be back with more synchronicity in a flash.